But what you can do is decide today, no matter what's happened in the past, no matter who you used to be, who you used to identify as, because obviously identity is massive here, you can change from this moment onwards, and you don't have to carry on living that way. You can live whatever life you want to live. You can honestly be whoever you want to be. So it's really exciting. Hello and welcome to the Am I a Wanker podcast. Today I have Craig Perra, founder of The Mindful Habit, on this show. And Craig, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate your time. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about your background and your pornography addiction, and then also what you're doing now?
Sure. Thank you. And I'm so glad to be here. I love the title, Am I a Wanker? There's multiple layers to that. And as you know, this journey comes in layers. So I'm honored to be here, man. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the great work that you do. So yeah, a little bit about me. Before the dinosaurs came, I was adopted as a child. That contributed to some issues. I was raised into a home of college-educated parents. My poor mother had some serious mental health issues, physically abusive, and sex was dirty and disgusting, and you saved it for someone you love. That was the Catholic shame-based training that I had around sex, and early exposure to pornography. It was awesome. It's the escape that I felt back in my day. It was magazines, and you'd find them on the street. Someone would steal them from their father from a very, very early age. And this is true for everybody. I'm not unique here. From a very early age, I had this separate part of me, this dirty, disgusting part of me that I kept secret. In fact, some kids got fake IDs to, buy liquor or maybe buy cigarettes or lottery tickets. I had a fake ID at 16, and I went to the adult bookstores because you had to be 18 to get in to the adult bookstores where you would buy, pornography the old-fashioned way. It wasn't available on the phone like it is today. Thank God. I don't know what I'd be like if I had to grow up in the environment that you grew up in. So I had this relationship with pornography since a very young age. I, definitely had two parts of me. I was senior class president. I was captain of two sports, captain as a junior, successful, going to college. And I had serious mental health issues that never, ever got addressed. In fact, my first year of college, I was arrested, stabbed, and kicked out. And that was obviously a cry for help. No one listened. I ended up, going to college, getting married, met my soulmate. I have an incredible wife. Yet I lied to her. I gaslit her. I cheated on her with pornography and with people. And eventually, the compartments that I had, the part of me that was successful, the part of me that was the lawyer, the part of me that was the executive, the part of me that was the smart guy, just came crashing down. And 11 years ago, almost 12, I was hired by a big billion-dollar company to run their compliance department. They didn't know this, but I was looking for a job because I got fired from my previous job, using drugs with prostitutes, watching hours of pornography. You can't perform when at that level, when, such a significant part of you is so banged up. And so, but throughout my life, a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy, a lot of 12 steps, a lot of focusing on not doing the thing. And quite frankly, I have the quote now, I can explain it now, but sobriety sucks. It was boring. And every time I'd hit a new low, I'd be like, oh God, there goes all my fun. I really, really hated it. Until 11 years ago, rock bottom, hospitalized for 3 days because of a mental health crisis, tried to kill myself. I was addicted to bath salts. I was having an affair with a trans escort and other, female escorts, like out of my mind. Got fired again, tried to kill myself, got hospitalized, came out of the hospital. And as I'm walking out of the hospital, I made this commitment to myself. And I said, I don't care if I have to dedicate the rest of my life to self-help. I am never coming back to this place again. And I knew that I couldn't keep doing the same things that I had been doing. Like the thought of going to therapy and having to, do more family of origin, more childhood trauma work was so depressing. And what was even more depressing was having to go to these meetings, which are beautiful fellowships. I'm not knocking it. If that's for you, God bless you. Do but the groups that I was a part of, there was a sex offender. Everybody was miserable. It was a really like just slip after slip after slip. I was like, I can't do this anymore, Tom. I can't do this anymore. And I needed to find a different path. I found a therapist who didn't subscribe to the disease-based model, a therapist who incorporated mindfulness into his treatment, and someone who had been there. And, that therapist changed my life. That therapist ended up hiring me to coach people. And here I am 9 years later. Clients in 27 countries, Steve Harvey, Katie Couric, Lifetime. I just shot 3 episodes for the television show Intervention. Clients from 27 countries, over 1,000 clients that I've worked with personally. And I live a blessed, privileged life. And I learned a lot in that, rock bottom. And here I am.
Wow, it's such an amazing story, such a transformation going from literally that real rock bottom where things were so out of control to where you are now, living a really sort of successful life, helping so many men who are struggling with pornography and sex addiction today. So, fair play to you. It's really incredible and very inspiring to me personally, as obviously this is something that I want to do in the future. So as I was saying to you earlier, something that just really clicked for me was that idea of not doing something. That moment for me was like, right, that's so interesting, because what you said was like you were terrible and not doing something. This was on one of your videos a little while ago, and you were just talking there about how you were going to these therapy groups and all of these things that were based on like the disease-based model, where it's sort of focusing a lot on the negatives, probably talking a lot about what happened in childhood, but I'm guessing it's not really talking more about what you actually do want in life as much. You're just unraveling the things that you don't want, which, it gets to a point where that's not going to help you anymore. So when did you learn, and when did you really understand that you were bad at not doing something, and that you needed to shift your focus towards doing the things that were going to create the great life that you now live?
Yeah, great question. So at my low point, literally like coming out of inpatient, I was there for 3 days, didn't have a choice whether to come or go. I voluntarily committed myself. I wasn't, in California, they call it a 5150. My doctor gave me a choice. Either you go or I'm going to make you go. So I'm in the hospital. I'm coming out of the hospital. I've got to get help. And I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing to get there that I had done in the past, because I had done hundreds, maybe over 1,000 hours of therapy over decades, like for years at a time. And it was amazing. And I got so much value, and I stand on their great shoulders. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying that there was something practical that was missing in my therapy, and the entire modality, the philosophy, was centered around not doing the thing. You were rewarded with a coin for not doing the thing. And at that low point, there were it was 2 or 3 things hit me in the face at the same time. One, I discovered this story Native American tale called Feed the Right Wolf. And long and short of it, there are two wolves inside us. Which wolf wins? The one you feed. That really, really like locked in me. There was something about that. At the same time, I learned that there was legitimate academic debate regarding the effectiveness of the disease-based model. This isn't some conspiracy. Like there are good therapists on the website for the American Society for Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, the highest trained, one of the oldest groups, professional associations. On their website, it says the sex addiction model doesn't work for most people. What? Wait, what is, I don't even know. No one told me that. No one told me there was any debate amongst the scholars. In fact, Tom, today, if you see if you see a sex addict therapist, like a CSAT, certified sex addiction therapist, there's a good chance that you're signing a document called an informed consent document, which says, hey, just so you know, this is not a recognized mental health disorder, but we're going to use it anyway. And I think it can bring you value. So like, wait, they have to sign an informed consent thing because it's not approved. It's been studied by the American Psychiatric Association for 5 years. So so Feed the Right Wolf, learning that there were legitimate academic criticisms of this model, and then came Break a Habit, Make a Habit. And I said to because I'm a systems thinker. I was a systems thinker. I was a lawyer. I was a systems thinker in my operational business executive roles that I was in. Loved systems thinking, and there was something about that Feed the Right Wolf, Break a Habit, Make a Habit, where I said, wait a minute, if to break the habit I have to make a habit, why haven't I put any attention or focus in my professional help that I was getting on the make a habit part of the equation? There's been no conversation on the make a habit part of the there was no make a habit conversation. There was no conversation around feeding the right wolf. And because I have a lot of childhood trauma, Tom, it's very natural for therapists. Let's take this guy deeper, man. Let's do it. And well-intentioned, and they helped me, and I'm so grateful. But what do you do with that information? How do you manage this reality that we've all got this, shitty programming inside? So it was the merge of those Feed the Right Wolf, Break a Habit, Make a Habit, and then the sex addiction, porn addiction model was like, this guy, Dr. David Lay, wrote a book called The Myth of Sex Addiction. And I went, something's not right. I'm not doing the right thing. My treatment isn't addressing the right issues. And that's when my whole life changed. That's when I started to obsess on the make a habit part of the equation. Do you know, in my years of therapy, I can't remember a single conversation on healthy sexuality. I'm messing around with guys. I'm messing around with girls. I'm messing around with trans people. Not a single conversation of healthy sexuality. My porn use was I just kept sinking deeper and deeper into this cesspool. And most of my therapists, because I was also cheating, the porn wasn't even part of, that was like a risk mitigation strategy. Like, watch porn, don't cheat. When in fact, the porn was rotting me from the inside and keeping me in this low place. So long and short of it, that's where the idea came from. Then my therapist hired me. I started helping people. And then I said, wait a minute, why in my therapy? And listen, there are people, Tom, listening to this video who need, or listening to this video or audio, whatever they're doing, who need a therapist to meet them where they are. Not some structured program, not you. they're not in that space. They've got mental health issues where they're there. Hey, where are you at right now? That's where I'm going to meet you. When that person's ready and once they've stabilized, then that person, I recommend, is in a structured program that's delivering or trying to deliver on particular skill sets. Like there are things that you can do to increase self-control. There's things that you can do to create more emotional intelligence in your life and learn how not to react and why you're reacting and how you're using pornography to numb, cope, and escape. So anyway, I don't want to get too far afield, but so I started creating this system that at each stage had very specific defined learning objectives, just like the corporate training that I used to prepare. And ultimately from that came this mindful habit system that I trained to counselors and therapists and psychologists all over the world come to me and say, my client just quit. And I remember the first time I got that call, I was nervous. Like I'm getting called by the therapist and my client just we've been working with him for a year. He just quit. And what the hell are you doing over there, man? Like, what, tell me, do you offer any training? No, I don't have training. 3 months later, the same thing would happen. 6 months later, the same thing would happen. 3 calls one weekend. I said, I most certainly do have a training. And I frantically put one together over the course of the next 2 weeks. But that's where it came from. That was the birth of the mindful habit. And it was through those lessons and profound failures that I felt I could add value to the conversation and bring that structure and discipline to people in now what's called the mindful habit.
Yeah, sure. So that sort of high level corporate background has certainly helped on the sort of more business side as well, of setting up the mindful habit and the systems and the logic and the processes behind all of that, because there are certain techniques that you can advise on that really do help people. I've gone through the course myself and I really do highly recommend that. So you talked a bit there about the sex and porn addiction based model, disease based model. Can you just expand on that a little bit for any listeners who aren't really aware of what that really means?
Sure. So and all well-intentioned, no, I'm so sensitive, Tom, because 12 steps is free. And if you're a brother at the bottom rung and you got nothing else, you do what you can get access to. I also recommend Smart Recovery. If any of your listeners are looking for a free program and you're not getting what you need from 12 steps, or you might want more, I highly recommend Smart Recovery. But basically, the trend is when something is compulsive, when people feel out of control, we call it an addiction. And we treat that addiction as if it's a disease. That's the 12-step philosophy. This is a disease. This is a disease that you're going to have for life. And the only way to treat that disease is to surrender, admit you're powerless to God, and go to meetings for the rest of your life. That did not appeal to me. That actually made me very, very, very depressed. The notion of this being a disease, and seeing some of the older men in the program who weren't happy in their relationships, who hadn't created any sense of healthy sexuality, but instead holding on for dear life. Like, guys, like they come in, I made it. Thank God I'm here. It was like, holding on for dear life, not doing the thing. And so the traditional way, and it was, the gentleman's name is Pat Carnes. He's the founder of the sex addiction movement. And again, well-intentioned, trying to help people, very successful. He has these training programs so therapists and counselors can become certified sex addiction therapists. And again, well-intentioned, that might work for some people. I support people who that doesn't work for, or that they need more. Because here's the problem when you diseaseify that part of you. You don't heal it. And with that diseaseification comes a demonization. So this sex addiction part is diseased. Instead, when you think about it from a parts perspective or an internal family systems perspective, you don't live with the disease. You treat the disease. You heal that part of you. You grow that part of you. You nurture that part of you. You support that part of you. The other side is healthy sexuality and a great life. That's the only thing that's ultimately going to help you be successful long term. And so what I found was that disease-based model did a couple of negative things. One, it resulted into the demonization of the part of you that in fact needed love, needed compassion, needed understanding. Number two, it was too focused on the symptom, the porn addiction, the sex addiction. Do you know, Tom, that I have worked with over 1,000 men from 27 different countries over the course of the past 9 years? And the number of those men who primarily, meaning number one on their list of problems, who primarily had a sex problem or a porn problem is zero. Zero. Zero, zero. Are there people with sex problems? My fetish brothers. Are there people with porn problems? Yes, what they're watching is making them feel bad about themselves. Porn's become their primary numbing, coping, and escaping strategy. But at least with the universe of men that I've had the privilege of helping, not one of them primarily had a porn problem, because the porn is the symptom.
That's it. That's it. I totally agree. And it's so interesting. Once you figure that out, there's so much room to grow and develop, because you can shift your focus to what it is you're actually lacking in life, and you can start to look at your unmet needs. That's something that you talk about quite a lot as well, is sort of identifying those needs and then finding ways of solving them in a better, healthier, more practical way that actually aligns with your values. So do you want to tell us a little bit about unmet needs and how that ties into pornography addiction?
I would love to tell you about unmet needs, and I'm so glad you asked, because I want to share with your audience my favorite exercise. My favorite exercise. So let's frame the shot. You know, people come to me at very, very, very low points. They have sunk to a new low. They've crossed a line that they said they wouldn't cross. Maybe they watched something that they said they wouldn't watch. Maybe they've done something that they wouldn't do, or the porn has just become completely consuming and is, you know, rotting them from the inside. So men at very, very, very low points in their lives. And after a couple of introductory exercises that take 5 or 10 minutes, I spring on them my favorite exercise, which is, hey, instead of, and I see this in a lot of programs, instead of quantifying the harm, or instead of making a list of how bad pornography is for you, I do the exact opposite. I say, tell me what it is doing for you. What are the positive attributes of your porn use? You can imagine the look on, wait, I got to go tell my wife I'm working on, I'm writing down all the positive attributes, all the good parts. Once they get over that initial shock, and I say, but listen, let's, you've been doing this since you were a kid. You have been using pornography as a numbing, coping, and escaping strategy since you were a child. It's helping you regulate fear. It's helping you when you feel bad about yourself. It's like a binky, a blanket. It's where you find safety. It's where you get excitement. It's where you escape. It's how you deal with life. And here, so okay, fine. And then they do the exercise. And then they write down, and I'm reading a client's exercise right now. I'm going to summarize it. Because see, to break a habit you have to make the right habit that meets the right need. Break a habit, make a habit. It's a little too simplistic because it's not just that. You have to make the right habit that meets the right need. And you have to recognize the reality that porn is providing an escape from life in general, from stress. I'm reading Jason's homework assignment. He's right here. A family, from my responsibilities, from self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy, from worry, anxiety, and fear, from feeling of not belonging, overwhelming, anger, resentment, an inner sense of wrongness. It helps me escape. It's where no one else can bother me and nothing else matters. Cue Metallica song. Number two, it brings immediate and intense pleasure. You can't ignore that reality. You can't ignore that reality. In this case, it helped him feel normal because he was watching things in the porn that was something that his wife wouldn't allow, or he had never asked her to do whatever this particular thing was. I don't remember, but it made him feel, it helped him cope with stress. It was an excitement and anticipation. He would look forward to it. It was a rush. It allowed him to enjoy other women while still remaining a committed husband. It brought him great enjoyment and pleasure. He followed some of the actresses on social media. It provided a connection to the women at some level. And nowadays, the way porn is consumed, or chatting, camming, OnlyFans, right? There's a connection now that didn't exist in the old days. You know, it helped him provide a connection. I want to get to the punchline too. I helped him relax. It gave him something to look forward to. And here's the Gollum moment from Lord of the Rings. It's mine. It's mine. It's one of the things that I can go to that's mine, with all other responsibilities, fatherhood, being a successful person in life, trying to be there for my partner, giving. This is mine. And in fact, for some of these men, I was certainly there myself. I used to call it Six Flags for grown-ups. That's the amusement park here in the States. That's what it was. It was my fun. It was my treat. It was my reward. If you don't figure out how to get that reward in a healthy, constructive way, you are never going to break this habit. So I love to start with a deep exploration of what needs this behavior is meeting, because it lays a foundation for clients to get those needs met in a healthy, constructive way, and hence the positive attribute exercise.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's so interesting. And I think you're right about asking people, how is this like serving you in the right way? Like, how is this serving you already? It might not be in the right way, but it's serving people in one aspect. And I think if you ignore that completely, then it's going to be a lot harder to figure out what you actually need and what those needs really are, because a lot of those answers there, right, you've then got the solution. So someone, Jason, for example, he wants something that's his because there's a lot of things in his life that are maybe outside of his control. He's got a lot of responsibility. He's got to look after this and that. And, you know, that's always going to be a bit overwhelming for anybody. And another quote of yours that I absolutely love that ties into this is embrace your power of choice. And I'm just thinking about it now. For me anyway, with my streak right now, and, you know, there's questions over whether a streak's even healthy or not, but I've got that at the moment and it's working well for me. And I'm doing quite well in terms of abstinence from porn and just living a healthy lifestyle and, you know, leaning into healthy sexuality in general. And something that's mine right now, when that comes to mind, is actually my control and my decision to embrace my power of sexuality, embrace my power of choice, choose not to look at porn. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that you can have the alternative of not looking at porn while still having something that's quite special to you. And for me, anyway, my sexuality, it does feel very, very special to me and something that I'm quite precious about nowadays. I don't want to be going, you know, having a wank over anything just because I'm a bit tempted. I want that something to be a bit more sacred. I don't want to just waste that. You know, that energy is precious, but that's not why I'm here. It's more about aligning my actions with my values. And I just find that so empowering for me personally.
Well, because obviously it's one of my favorite expressions too, embrace your power of choice, because I want to help men get to a place where they're choosing, they're deliberate, they're intentional. And it's very easy at those low points to help people understand the destructive power inherent in their sexuality. This brings people to their knees. The shame, the self-loathing, the disgust, the embarrassment. It's so they can appreciate the destructive. The part that I want to help them is, okay, see that destructive power? The other side of that is its constructive power. What does your life look like when you are intentional? And listen, what do we know about that sexual power? We know this, at least. We know that children who have that part of themselves stained, molested, or abused, who were children who were sexually molested or had on the spectrum of unhealthy childhood sexual experiences, those children, as they grow into adults, have a higher rate of suicide. It felt good. Even in that's including the quote unquote consensual. We're not talking about violent assaults here. We're talking about the older neighborhood kid playing, doctor. When that part of us is stained, we feel broken inside. We feel stained, and then the shame that comes to what we're watching reinforces that. So we know that part of us is so sacred. When corrupted, those people have a higher rate of killing themselves. And I know not everybody is in that dark place, but I say, but let's at least look at that fact, look at that reality, and acknowledge how powerful this evolutionary force is. We were not meant to live in the TikTok era where we're surrounded by thirst trap. Oh, then there's a cool speech on marketing. Oh, there's a motivational speech, thirst trap. And then like if you go on at some of these lives that I've seen, and the women have their clothes on, Tom, it's heartbreaking to see these young men simping, feeling so disempowered, so lonely, high, touch your bra strap, wave back, turn around. It is heartbreaking. We're not wired for that level of stimulation. It's sucking people in. They think they're getting something out of it. They think this is, the new sexual revolution. This is the new sexual revolution, is the one that I'm trying to lead, which is to help men reclaim that sexual power and channel it into creating great lives for themselves and not squander it on OnlyFans. And it's no judgment. You do you. If something's working for you, and like that's the thing. I don't have any judgment. There's no judgment. But for the men who say, you know what, maybe the sexual revolution is keeping me stuck and I'm kind of desperate and alone and I don't feel good about myself, what would my life look like if that part of me was healthy? And what comes through that sexual health journey is a powerful transformation that changes every aspect of men's lives.
That's it. And it's never too late. It's just never, ever too late to change and just develop better, healthier habits. And as you say, I don't think judgment will ever help. Guilt, shame, they're only going to hold you back. You have to be operating from a place of self-love and self-care and accepting that there's parts of you, as you were saying earlier, with the internal family systems, IFS, all of that. And I know that's another big part of the course, which has also really helped me, is, that part of you, it's within you, it's serving a purpose. Often that's born in childhood. So it's like you can't feel guilty or shameful about that. It's quite complicated. But what you can do is decide today, no matter what's happened in the past, no matter who you used to be, who you used to identify as, because obviously identity is massive here, you can change from this moment onwards, and you don't have to carry on living that way. You can live whatever life you want to live. You can honestly be whoever you want to be. So it's really exciting. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you're out there wanting to change, wanting to improve your life. And so you're only a few actions away from doing that. Craig, thank you so much for coming on. I think we're going to have to wrap it up here. Where can people find the Mindful Habit online, on your website and social media?
Awesome. So if you want to visit the website, there's a free training there. There's a description to the different programs. www.mindfulhabit.com. You can find me on Facebook, Mindful Habit. You can find me on Twitch, Mindful Habit Coach. You can find me on Twitter. I go live all the time. So if you're not ready to jump into a program, subscribe to me on one of those social media channels. And I'd be honored to help, point you in the right direction. But yeah, the mindfulhabit.com is the website that people can use. And my podcast is entitled Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. And if you search for sex addiction, it'll come right up. I'm usually number one.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Go check out Craig. Honestly, his work and his content is amazing, and there's so much good free stuff there. So really do recommend you diving into that. Thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.